A USA in protest over UPenn transgender swimmer Leah Thomas says Thomas is, quote, destroying women's swimming. Watch.
The fact is that swimming is a sport in which bodies compete against bodies. Identities do not compete against identities. Men are different from women. Men swimmers are different from women, and they will always be faster than women.
Should Thomas be allowed to compete? That's the question. Here to weigh in, Jason Rantz, radio host of KTTH Seattle. You just heard from Cynthia Mullen there, the U.S. swimming official who resigned over this whole controversy. Let's pick up on her words. Swimming is a sport in which bodies compete against bodies. Men will always be faster than women. With that said, do you think Thomas should be allowed to compete?
Ultimately, no. I think that we should be making sure that when we have women's sports and men's sports, unless we're going to make them co-ed, you should be biological with the gender that you're competing. I think it is correct to say that your identity, while it's an important part of an individual's personality and who they are, it doesn't necessarily reflect the gifts that they were given when they were born into a certain gender. The party of science, the party that tells us constantly that we have to listen to doctors, are now telling us to ignore all of the studies, ignore all of the science that very clearly indicates that, generally speaking, are better than women. It doesn't mean that women aren't good athletes. It doesn't mean that there are some men who wouldn't be defeated by women. But overall, that's why I don't necessarily like looking at any one particular athlete, because there's going to be some instances where there are anomalies. But overall, it's very clear that men have an advantage over women. That's why it's separate to begin with. And then on top of that, of course, you've got decades worth of fights from women.
Yes, and that's how it starts off. When you start as a swimmer, before you get to the Ivy League level, you're obviously separated by gender, you're separated by age for a reason. Thomas previously competed as a man at Penn for 2 full seasons, to give you a bit of background here, most recently in 2019. Now, the NCAA rules dictate that transgender players have to partake in at least 1 year of testosterone suppression before they can compete as women. Just keep that in mind, because despite that, Thomas recently dominated a women's competition. Let's throw this up on the screen. It included the 500-yard freestyle preliminaries and finals. She earned a winning time on the left side of your screen there, 4 minutes, 34 seconds in the finals, which is a new Ivy League record. It is impossible to see these results as fair. On the right of your screen where it says 500 free, that was her old time as a man. So she slowed down a bit, but nonetheless, her team beat a record among Ivy League. One must take that with a grain of salt.
You have to look at the studies, and the going through this testosterone therapy or suppression, you still have an edge. You still have an edge over biological women. Now, when you're looking at any athlete, male or female, when someone's excelling, when someone's doing really, really well, is it normal to say that we're going to suppress their natural abilities for a year so that they compete with others more fairly? No, of course not. We embrace it. So in this case, they are conceding that there is an edge to certain athletes based on their gender, based on their biology, not based on their identity. And I think that has to be taken into account. Again, you have had generations of women fighting for equal access to be able to compete for scholarships, compete for different opportunities on the professional level. And we're now saying that we're going to push it completely away because Democrats have changed the definition of gender, and Democrats, more importantly in this case, have decided that they're going to side with people who are perceived as more oppressed as the other. This is intersectionality politics. When you have a biological woman versus a biological man, the woman is deemed to be more oppressed, so they'll side with the female. When you have a biological female versus a transgender female, they will then go with the transgender female because they believe that there's more oppression there. But let's just do what's basically fair for everyone, and this clearly is not.
All right, Jason Rantz, thank you very much. Ben.
Thank you.